This is Keziah Badi Israel of Israelite Heritage Women's Ministry, the Blessed Handmaidens of Yah and Yahushua. Today I have another message to the sisters called Sisters Do Not Fear, Part 2. Last year I did a previous part, part 1 to Sisters Do Not Fear. But I felt led and inspired by Yah to do a part 2 to Sisters Do Not Fear and to cover some things that I didn't cover in the previous Sister Do Not Fear lesson. In the previous lesson, I said that I didn't want to address, the common everyday fears that some of us may have, but I was saying that I want to address the fear in lacking faith. But by listening to some of the brothers' lessons and people giving their testimonies in Power Talk, I've come to find out and come to realize that, well, Satan can also use our common everyday fears against us as well, and can use those fears against us so that it may lead us to sin, may lead us to denying the Most High in times of persecution. So I had to think about that, and I had to go back, and I felt led to do a second lesson to add on to what I left off in the previous lesson. So I'm going to start with a few scriptures that show examples of how the Israelites persevered when they were faced with persecution. I'm going to use two examples, and I'm also going to read a passage where one, through fear, he denied the Messiah. And see, and a lot of times, when you believe in Yah, you believe in the Most High, He will give you the courage to face something that you would normally be afraid of. And I'm going to start with the book of Daniel, YL, and I'm going to read chapter 3 and verses 13 through 29. Now this chapter talks about the three Hebrew boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I'm not going to read the whole chapter, but I'm sure you all are familiar with it. It was when Nebuchadnezzar, it was ordered, decreed that everyone bow down and worship his golden image. And as you know, the three Hebrew boys refused to do that because they know they should only worship Yah the Most High and not bow down to some graven image, because that goes against one of the 10 Commandments. So I'm not going to read the whole chapter, but I just wanted to paraphrase that so when I start reading, those who are not familiar with it won't be too lost. Okay, let's start. Then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Do ye not worship my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? Now if ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. And who is that Yah, Almighty One, that shall deliver you out of my hands? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. If it be so, our Yah, Almighty One, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set up. See that bravery? Okay, let's continue. Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Because see, they were well favored, but when they did this, oh man, he was really mad with them. Therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 7 times more than it was wont to be heated. He commanded that they heat the furnace 7 times that was usually heated. Wow. And he commanded the most mighty men that were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these men were bound in their coats, their hosen, and their hats, and their other garments, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire slew those men that took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. See, the men that took them up, they got consumed by the fire. And these three men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell down bound into the midst of the burning furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished, and rose up in haste, and spake, and said unto his counselors, Did we not cast three men bound into the midst of the fire? They asked and said unto the king, True, O king. He answered and said, Lo, I see four men loose, walking in the midst of the fire, and they have no hurt, and the form of the fourth is like the Son of Yah. Then Nebuchadnezzar came near the mouth of the burning fiery furnace, and spake and said, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, ye servants of the Most High Yah, come forth and come hither. Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came forth of the midst of the fire. And the princes, governors, and captains, and the king's counselors, being gathered together, saw those men upon whose bodies the fire had no power, nor was an hair of their heads singed, neither were their coats changed, nor the smell of fire passed on them. Hallelujah. Then Nebuchadnezzar spake and said, Blessed be the mighty one of Yah, or Yah, of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who hath sent his angel, and delivered his servants that trusted in him, and have changed the king's word, and yielded their bodies that they might not worship, nor worship any god except their own mighty one, Yah. Hallelujah for that. But see, their faith to stand, to persevere, that's what saved them, their faith in Yah. And hallelujah for that. See, that serves an example to us. Normally they would have been scared of a fire, especially a fire that was burning 7 times its strength. But see, when you believe in Yah and face that fear, that's when he will come through for you. That is a good example. Now I'm going to go to the next one in the same book in Daniel. I'm going to go to chapter 6. And this chapter is about Daniel, when it was decreed that no one petition any other mighty one or man other than King Darius. This was for, I think the decree was for 30 days. But Daniel knew that he could only worship and petition the Most High Yah, and he was faithful to his to Yah. And he knew he couldn't obey that, even though he had favor with the king, and the people knew that Daniel had favor with the king, and they were jealous. And that's why they brought up that decree, so they could find an occasion to accuse Daniel of a crime or a disobedience, so that the king could have him killed. So that's that cruelty of jealousy. But anyway, let's see how Daniel persevered in this, and how he faced his fear. Okay, now we're going to start Daniel chapter 6. We're going to read verses 16 through 23. Then the king commanded they brought Daniel, and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spoke and said unto Daniel, Thou mighty one whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee. Because even now the king was hoping that Daniel's mighty one would deliver him from the mouth of the lions. Now think of a lion now. The average man, average person, is scared to death of a lion. But with Daniel's faith, Daniel probably would have been scared of a lion, but see, his faith, what made him stand face to face with ferocious, hungry lions. Okay, let's keep on. And a stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet, and with the signet of his lords, and the purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel. Then the king went to his palace, and passed the night fasting, neither were there instruments of music brought before him, and his sleep went from him. Then the king arose very early in the morning, and went in haste to the den of lions. And when he came to the den, he cried with a lamentable voice unto Daniel. And the king spake and said to Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living Yah, is thy mighty one whom thou servest continually able to deliver thee from the lions? Then Daniel said unto the king, O king, live forever. my Yah Almighty One have sent his angel and